Would you believe me if I tell you that millions of Americans hate their homeowners association, also known as HOA? Imagine buying your dream home and the cost of living skyrockets not because of your mortgage, but due to the soaring HOA fees, penalties, and sometimes legal fees. And this is the reality for millions of Americans right now. So today, we're going to take a look at how come all these HOAs are taking over the American neighborhoods. Let's dive right in.
84% of newly built single-family homes sold in 2022 belong to what's called a homeowners association, which are organizations that oversee properties in a community.
Certain local governments require almost all new construction to have an HOA.
They're rooted in the desire for municipalities to offload their responsibilities for taking care of things that you would normally associate with paying your taxes.
Homeowners associations provide value to owners.
So let's understand what's an HOA. First, take a look at what exactly it is an HOA, because a lot of people don't even understand. A lot of buyers don't even know what an HOA does and why they have to pay for an HOA. So the HOA, it's a community association that is normally set up as a non-profit organization. It's a corporate, it's an entity that operates and maintains the community. And this is to maintain the common areas of a community to preserve and enhance the property value for the residents' benefit. This is something I got from Stephen Brunfield. HOAs do things to make homeowners live easier. And he is the director of communications for the home builders called Toll Brothers. So HOA are typically formed by a board of directors, and these board of directors consist of volunteer residents that are going to be living in this community. So these communities may have an initial body of the developer, be the one, or a builder, or someone from the builders that will be the one kind of like taking over these, and slowly as the community gets older, they transition and give more power to the residents, to a board of directors to take over the decisions that need to be made. Sometimes a professional management company may be hired to handle certain duties, like the maintenance and landscaping of the common areas. This also may include pools and playgrounds, collecting assessment fees, enforcing HOA rules and violations, and of course maintaining the common elements in the front yards of certain properties. It all depends how it is being structured. Not necessarily every HOA will do it like that. So now that we understand it's a basic concept of an HOA, so why so many new homes must be part of a homeowners association? Let's understand let's see why they need to be part of it. So we're going to lose a little bit of pros and cons here. So a pro, it is because makes your neighborhood more attractive. So HOAs, as I briefly explained before, have an obligation to maintain the communities in a very uniform way, and how they do that is by setting up rules, bylaws, and regulations that says how can you paint a room, a front door, what kind of fence you can install. So they definitely have a little bit more control over your property. And one of the challenges of that, it is if you wanted to be more authentic in terms of how you want to present your property to the neighborhood, then maybe an HOA, it's not for you. Now, let's talk about a con of this. What happens is builders and developers, they see the need to not, once they have complete the construction of community, they just don't want to leave it alone. They gotta give it to someone to have some control, and that's why all these regulations are put in place. There are the bylaws, the governing laws of the covenants that run with the land that need to be enforced by somebody. So one of the issues with this is that you have limitations, and the limitations might be, as I said, if you want to be more original with your house and you want to paint your front door, let's say vivid orange color, and your bylaws only says that you can only do like browns, beige, blues, reds, then that becomes an issue, and that's going to be a problem. Another thing is roof are also big things for communities, because a property that a roof is falling apart, it also can be detrimental to the community. And let's be honest, not everybody wants to really move into a community that it's not looking all well kept, well maintained. Like here, for example, where I am in the state of Maryland, if you go north to Clarksburg in Maryland, that's a whole new developments, new communities, and it is beautiful to drive around those communities where how the streets are clean, they are nice, but all those things have a cost. And if you as the owner are not willing to submit to those rules and regulations, then you can get really in trouble by not doing that. And that's when a lot of people are actually hating their homeowners associations, because the very little things sometimes can be a problem. I give you a specific example. I live in a community that has a homeowners association, and they're very nice. I will say they're decent compared to other people that have told me horrible stories. But one thing is, when the time comes to open the pool, the community pool, they actually do an inspection of your property just to make sure that you actually deserve to have the passes to go to the community pool. So what they do is just to make sure the appearance of your house is good, the doors are painted, the front steps are in good shape, your backyard doesn't have any trash, you're not accumulating things that are not removing from there, that your fence is in good thing. But this is also, it imposes additional expenses for a homeowner, because if your budget doesn't allow you to do all these maintenances, then you actually are in trouble. And let's just not forget something, that buying a house, it's a big commitment, and it comes with a lot of responsibilities that you have to do those things in order to stay in the property. Failure to pay your fees, your dues, H.O.A. dues, condo dues, then that has a problem. And that's another huge con for a lot of people, that you have to pay dues to live in your own property. That's one of the biggest downsides of this, is that you have to pay these fees, these H.O.A. fees. And these are just not a little thing, that are actually a big piece of the budget for the community. And let's say, if I'm going to give an example of a condominium it's governed by a condo association, and let's say all the exterior, all the balconies need to be replaced, then everybody has to participate in doing those things. And these communities don't really have all the money they need, so they have to send what is called a special assessment. That can be a one-time payment, can be a monthly assessment over a period of time, 12 months, 24 months. So that is really where it gets kind of crazy. Now, if I'm going to a little bit to the extreme, yes, if you stop paying your HOA fees, then a lot of these things then the homeowners association will have to hire an attorney in order for them to get the money that you need to pay them back. And if you don't pay that money, they can impose a lien on your property, and they can force the sale of your house. I have seen many people selling their houses because a big lien on a homeowners association. Now, this doesn't happen overnight. This takes some time for these things to happen. So this might be after a period of 2-3 years when you are now being forced to sell your piece of real estate. So this is really kind of like restricts a little bit of the freedom to certain people that they don't like those things. So that's why some people in my area will choose to probably move north of Frederick, like Hagerstown and Smithsburg area, where you have more of the old concept of American neighborhoods, that houses are not ruled or regulated by homeowners association. There is not board of trustees. There might be some covenants that run with the land, but not necessarily something that it has to do with the exterior appearance of your property, deferred maintenance regulations and rules. So definitely it has a lot of these things. So this is where a lot of people really get, and let's be honest, average homeowners association fees nowadays in the United States, it's between $150 to $250 a month. That's the average fee, which in my opinion, it's high for everything they do. But again, that's part of what you sign up for when you buy a house, that it is under a homeowners association or a condo fee. So my next point is, what happens when you stop paying your homeowners association? When you miss a payment, your HOA will typically notify you, give you a notice, something in writing, whether there is an email system they have or something as a regular snail mail. They'll send to you, tell you that you are late on your dues, and they're now your dues are going to go higher and higher and higher. So this is where you then have to reach out to them. I highly recommend you reach out to them. One thing a lot of homeowners do, a big mistake, is they don't call their homeowners association. They keep ignoring the notices, and these people are here to sort of work out with you some kind of payment plan, but not necessarily, I will say, they're going to be your best friends, because I'll be lying to you, they're going to be those things. So here's some scenarios I'm going to give you where what happens if you fail to pay your HOA fees. Some of your privileges could be taken away. What I mean by that, it is what they do is that maybe they're not going to come and cut the grass of your house, although it is kind of like goes against it because it is their obligation to maintain the property since already have a crew over there. They may start just sending inspections more often and flag other things where before they were a little bit more relaxed, now going to be more like strict with you regarding those things. Your unpaid bills could go to collection, and this can actually damage your credit score. You will be delinquent, and your HOA, they definitely can hire a collection agency to obtain all these missed fees. So this can result in more notices, more headaches to you. Now, take it to the next level. You can be legally sued by the Homeowners Association, as just explained before a few minutes ago. This is when they can hire an attorney and sue you and take legal action and put a lien against your property, and then your property can go to foreclosure. And as I said, I heard horrible stories where people have lost their homes. Now, I know that it was not, there's always two sides of the story. If the homeowner comes and tells me that side of the story, I'm sure there is also a story from the HOA. So definitely it's a lot of these things that you have to keep in mind. I highly recommend that if you get to the point where they're about to put a lien on your property, you need to hire an attorney to help you work something out with these people, because that is when it's really no way around it. Back in 2008, 9, and 10, when homes were being sold as short sales, that was one of the biggest issues, was that there were all these unpaid liens against the property or fees, so that the lenders actually have to take over, or maybe the person buying the house needed to satisfy some of these liens in order to purchase the property and go to settlement, because once it's a lien, it's a lien. You cannot sell this. The title has to be clean, at least for the state of Maryland, but I think it applies to all the states in the United States. So the next and last point will be how to select a house that is located in a good HOA. That is a very tricky one, because it is really hard to know how strict this HOA can be for a lot of these properties. And I can tell you, well, let's go and talk to the next door neighbor of the house you're interested in buying. Well, that it is very subjective, because that it basically is going to be the person is going to give you an opinion based on his or her experience, and also based on how good they have been with the payment. So HOAs are not one size fits all. It's not. However, to determine if an HOA is really good for you, there are two things you should know before buying. This is according to Frank Rathbun. He is the Vice President of Communications at the Community Associations Institute. It says, number one thing you have to look is the amount of the HOA fee they collect on a monthly, quarterly basis. And then also is the basic rules and regulations stated in the association governing documents or covenants, conditions, and restrictions. So now, as you may or may not recall, when you were buying your house, if you were buying a house in a homeowners association, at least for the state of Maryland, you had 5 days to review these documents when you receive them, and then you can cancel the contract, no questions asked. Your deposit will go back to you. If you're buying a condominium, would be 7 days. So this would be time for you to really get out of the contract. Now, if you decided to proceed and move forward, then this is when you will have to submit yourself and assume the consequences of not reading these documents. I give you an example of how many people that have those white minivans, like the painter's van or the electrician's or the plumber's van. In a lot of these communities, those vehicles are not allowed to be parked inside the community. You can park them on the outside of the community, on the main roads of the community. Then you have to deal with the local ordinances to see if you can park over there, but then you cannot park inside of this community. So for a lot of these people, their job, the way of earning a wage and living, buying a house in an HOA is not a good thing. But a lot of people make the mistakes of not reading these documents, buying, then just to find out they cannot park their minivan from Mario Bros painters, right? And they now have to go and park outside. These people are now probably have to have an additional cost. Now let's just be honest, with the level of insecurity throughout the whole nation, a lot of people are even afraid to leave their vehicles too far from the house because the potential of somebody breaking into their vehicle. So not a good fit for everything. So you have have to be really good. As I said, go to the website, speak with someone that from the management company over there. There could be, some of these can be managed by the owners, and some can be managed by a professional property management company. So you really have to look into how they're doing these things, how the fees are paid. Are these subtracted from your credit card? Are these fees, do you have to incur an additional expenses if you pay through the credit card? Do they have a system in place where you go and pay for these things? How those things will do? I definitely encourage you to read the more you can, even before you submit an offer. If you already identify a community that you like a lot and you're waiting for a house to come on the market over there, I highly encourage you to really take a look to the documents that could be available. Maybe your realtor can call another realtor for a house that sold not long ago. Maybe they already have a copy of the bylaws. Let's be honest, the bylaws, all those documentations are really not updated on a monthly basis. The budget and the expenses, all the financials is the only thing that gets updated on a monthly basis, like P&Ls and so on, and any new measurements they're going to like adopt moving forward. But then the covenants, the bylaws, they all remain the same for most of the time. So really, you're not expecting big changes over there. Now, I know I cover a lot. I know I said a lot of things here. Tell me your story about your current homeowners association. Are you happy with them? Are you unhappy? Do you like how much they charge you? Do you hate how much they charge you? So leave me some comments here. Your feedback is very important to me. And do me a favor, hit that like button. And if you really like everything you're seeing here, go ahead and subscribe. Give me a thumbs up. Remember, if you're thinking about relocating to the state of Maryland or DC or Virginia, click here on the link below or up here and just can set up a call with me so that we can talk more about your real estate needs in the future. Thank you very much. Have a good day. Bye-bye.